So this is a really good one as far as when you see someone actually trying to tell you the truth and they're not lying by omission, which seems to be the new favorite of the deep state, the omission line, which is like, really? And hopefully you start noticing some differences now that we have someone to compare that to that is not lying by omission. Now, as many of you know, we did that little segment that got released that was never aired. And I highly recommend you watch this entire interview. It was very eye-opening about the dynamics that were going on and how things were playing out and who the players were.
Mr. Sun, thank you very much for coming back.
Thank you for having me back.
It. So I want to start with the days before January 6th, 2021. It was commonly known there was going to be a demonstration, or believed there was going to be a demonstration in front of the Capitol that day. You were...
He starts this interview. Tucker's a very good interviewer. He's extremely good at disarming his interviewees, helping them to relax so that one, you could see, when they get caught, or two, they open up a lot more than they would have. So kudos to him for being very good at that kind of thing. And here's Stephen. He sits in a very polite way. He's very close to himself. He's not taking up extra space. It's not his area. And he's sitting up straight, but at the same time, you see his face, his angle towards his interviewer. He's giving very good eye contact. He's motioning in the positive to Tucker as Tucker's speaking to sit there and say, hey, I am actively listening to you. I'm a friendly guy. I'm here to listen and talk to you. I am not being disrespectful, which are all positives.
The chief of Capitol Police, you're in charge of security at the Capitol. So it would seem logical that you would have the most intelligence, the most up-to-date, most accurate intelligence about what was likely to happen that day, because you're consulting with all kinds of other agencies, intel agencies, law enforcement agencies, lots of federal agencies. But it doesn't sound like you did have the most information about what was going to happen.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, what we've learned that it was out there at the time versus what we had coming into it, night and day. And when you talk about the intelligence agency, I have my own intelligence agency up at Capitol Police, IICD, Interagency Intelligence Coordination Division.
Yes.
That coordinates with the other intelligence agencies. And now, we're seeing the intelligence I was getting coming into it was indicating this was going to be just like the previous MAGA rallies, the November and December rallies that we had.
So here you see, and this is a really good one, the arm is going, and it looks like the hand is open. I'm not quite sure how it's open. It could be like the finger splayed, it could be flat, it could be whatever, but it looks like it's open. And the arm is moving as it's doing a list. You also notice at the same time, and this is where these 2 or 3 tells really, really come out shining, saying, here I am. The head is doing the exact same thing. It is going down the list in the same shake movement. The body is singing, and we have our golden child of it.
We had limited skirmishes. We had some skirmishes afterwards down by BLM Plaza with some of the Antifa groups and some of the BLM groups. But coming into it, absolutely zero with the intelligence that we know now existed, talking about attacking the Capitol, killing my police officers, attacking members of Congress and killing members of Congress. None of that was included in the intelligence coming up to.
That you received.
Correct.
Now, unfortunately, this is cutting a lot. But prior to the cuts, you still see those 2 or 3 tells coming together. The head movement is matching with the arm. Now, mind you, it doesn't have a hinge on it other than the neck. So your hinge would be the equivalent in the neck as it is to the elbow and the arm. So when the head moves in the direction, the elbow mimics it via, the neck and the elbow. And since those are massive joints to control because of all the muscles that connect there, this is a huge tell. There's a lot of coordination that the body does. And when it's trying to suppress those things, that's why you get that stiffness. But here, they're singing. Let's move on to something a little bit more interesting.
I hear you.
I'm sorry, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Of course. The Uniparty intentionally excluded the 3 people who would know the answers to the key questions.
Yeah, the original plan was to exclude them. I immediately called somebody I knew on the rules.
So we're going to go over some, and it might be boring details to some of you. So he taps the desk, immediately called someone, and he taps. He's got someone in mind, and he's caged them. I've got this person. He's tapping. He's still giving that very good eye contact to Tucker.
Committee and said, please let me testify. I will be there in person.
And again, you still see the head and neck are agreeing with the arm, the elbow and the forearm. Oh, it's a beautiful thing to sit there and watch truth. It looks so pretty because it sings, it dances, however you want to say it.
And I still remember, she said, you'll show up in person? I said, I promise you, I will be there in person. I want to testify. And I was the only one that showed up in person.
It just seems like the denial of your request to have National Guardsmen who are within eyesight, you saw them, to have them help, that's a pivotal moment on that day. And we know the name of the man who made that decision, and we still don't know why he made that decision. And that's just shocking to me. Has he ever answered that question?
No, he's never answered that question specifically that I'm aware of. And I do know when they were talking about
So you're watching him recount this, and he's making sure he's got it right. He's got his memories closely into the emotional realm, which is okay. Some people are extremely logical, some people are emotional, and some people, they've got a really good mix of both.
the J6 committee coming out, I think it was Representative Ben.
And you'll do notice that he stays in there quite a long time as he goes through it, and he's pinched it. So he's got the memory pretty much represented in his fingers, pinched together. The mind is reading it, and he's giving appropriate eye contact to sit there and go, I've got to stay in my memory to look, and then I'm going to give eye contact back to Tucker, going back and forth. So you've got lots of tells there saying that what he's saying, at least in his world, is truth.
Thompson had said Speaker Pelosi is off limits. So they wouldn't get any of her records or phone records.
What do you mean she's off limits?
I believe that was one of the things he said, that her coming into this was she was off limits to the inquiries of the January 6th.
Well, she was running the House that day.
I hear you. If we're truly trying to get to the bottom of this, trying to find out what happened.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, I mean, that's insane.
You would be getting everyone's records. I've been forthright. All my phone records have been turned over. And like I said, there's a description of all the numerous calls I made requesting approval. Think about it. In that 71 minutes, I called in 17 police agencies, 1,700 officers to help us get the Capitol back. And it also made those 11 calls trying to find out where.
You are as precise as an airline pilot in your recollection of things. So yes, I think everything you have said is provable. I mean, these are not.
The book's all based on fact. You can go through it. I reference all the facts I have, footnote. You get access to a lot of the intelligence. I mean, it's fact. And my story hasn't changed in 2.5 years.
So I'm just to circle back to this Paul Irving, who played a pivotal role, I think whose name is unknown to most people, even people who follow what happened on January 6th. What happened to him?
No idea. He disappeared shortly thereafter.
I love how he does this. This, to me, is the true mystery of this entire interview. It's like all of it we kind of already knew or suspected. No idea. He brings his hand up to the table like he's already got something in it, and you literally see him throw it, splay his fingers as if he threw something. I have no idea. It's like he disappeared. And the other part of this that has a tell in it is the lack of follow through with the eyes. If you knew where something went when you threw it, you kind of follow it with your eyes like it went that way. He don't follow it. He doesn't look at it. It has gone somewhere. And it's not an ignore. He's not avoiding it. It's just out of sight.
Haven't heard much from him. Had a couple of conversations with Mike Stinger before he passed away, but nothing from Mr. Irving.
So you see him also go into that memory. He's still doing the negative. It's agreeing with his verbal. He's not doing a believe me look. Irving has disappeared. The guy has disappeared. And this goes on, and this is why I find this so interesting.
So he was House Sergeant at Arms, and then when did he leave after January 6th?
So it's interesting. So
we've got a very big lookup going to visual memory. He's really trying to reference that and make sure it's correct, which means that this question probably threw him for a loop. So he's got to sit there and really dig. I don't want to misspeak in his mind. So he's going to try and be very thorough in his brain search.
He officially left the 7th, but his signature's on a document making my assistant chief of intelligence the chief of police on the 8th. It's kind of weird the way it worked. But so I guess he was out the 7th or the 8th.
Was he close to Pelosi?
Oh, yes. Was he? Oh, yeah. He was.
So was he close to Pelosi? And it's not huge, but he comes back in the neck away from Tucker. Oh, yes. Like an untouchable kind of closeness.
He was a very loyal. It's interesting. He was able to go between Republican and Democrat pretty well.
Yes.
He knew how to
Not a
play
huge
the political
difference
game
on some level.
But he was extremely loyal
to Nancy Pelosi. And it's unclear.
Now, this has been purposely muted by Tucker. And I wish I could read lips because obviously something is said here that they don't really want public. I got to go back and watch because I'm going to try and read lips.
Pretty well. He knew how to
Not a
play
huge
the political
difference
game
on some level.
but he was extremely loyal
To Nancy Pelosi. And it's
There's another name there. That's why. I wonder if it's Chuck Schumer.
But he was extremely loyal
to Nancy Pelosi. And it's unclear what happened to him after he left
No idea.
the Capitol.
I wish I knew what in the world he said. That bothers me. I watched Tucker on that part. Whoever it is, it doesn't surprise or faze Tucker in the least. Like it's not a surprise. Like, oh, okay. Oh, this rabbit hole. If you like it, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.